Well, John R., no waffle, no talking. This is it. This is the miter joint 1 year later. I have not touched it. All I did was wipe some bird poop off the railing here. Hi, I'm Larry Satchwell, and I am not a professional deck builder, but I play one on YouTube. I'm sorry, Chippy, I should have said that up front. About a year ago, I made a video called Closing the Gap. And like my other videos, it's just what I do day to day around the house here. Most of my videos get 20 to 30 views, but this one has over 281,000 views, so it's got to be a problem with decks. I'm just a guy that tries to fix things around the house. My honey-do list. I'm sure you've got one too. So this is our back deck. It's August 21st, 2018, and this is what the back deck looks like. That's the corner in question. That's the pergola, and that's the way we say it here. You can say pergola, I guess, but this is my pergola I built the day after I fixed that miter joint. For all of you and Mr. Appleby, I'm not exactly a moron. That's the end that was in question. And here is the other end that was in question. This one is a little bit shorter. If I were to do this again, I would use a different kind of joint or a different design altogether where a miter joint wouldn't be necessary. There were a lot of guys that gave me a lot of good advice. I would probably use yellow treated pine again. It's what I can afford, and it's what's easily available here in Georgia. I looked for redwood. There's no redwood resource that I'm aware of. You can special order eBay from Home Depot. 2 pieces of eBay for this railing would be over $200. I can't afford that. As far as plastic wood or the artificial stuff, I don't think it would look good in combination with this. So I'm going to stick with that. I probably would go with KDAT, which is kiln dried after treatment. I can get that at my local Ace hardware store, and it comes in 2x. That's another change I'd make. I would use 2x, and I would use a half-lap miter joint like so many of you suggested. I don't think I'd use Craig screws. I really don't know how to get a Craig screw under there. And Craig screws have their place, but not every place. I am aware of these little plates you can get. I know this is a small one, but it's just one I had on hand. And I probably should have put a plate under there. To tell you, the best solution came from David Warren down in Australia. David's got some skills. Thank you, John Crosby, for sending me those pictures. I think John's a deck builder in Mississippi, the way he's talked. John, I really appreciate you helping. David cuts stainless steel to fit over a joint like this, and that's what started that whole discussion on rebate, recess, whatever it is. David, I really respect your skills. I'm not even trying to imitate you. This is just a piece of stainless steel I had left over from the front of a thrown away dishwasher and just gave it a try, gave it a whirl. You, my friend, I respect a lot with some skill. That's going to look good on a high-end piece. This isn't a high-end piece. This is the garden that this deck overlooks. I want to give you a warning. If you have vertigo, I am going to pan out over the deck. Here we go. And here's the joint in question. That joint down there is 2 years old. The newel posts are on this joint where the railing just didn't get hit out of whack. It just opened up because wood moves. Down here, this gap, yeah, there's another bug for you to look at. This gap is 0.06 inches in millimeters. 1.58. Up here at the other end, .16, maybe a little shorter than that. 2.16 in inches. 0.085. The reason I originally used biscuit joints was because I saw Tom and Norm do it on this old house. Probably 25 years ago, 25 years ago, whenever biscuit joiners first came out. That's the original. The reason I didn't use my biscuit joiner this time was because the router bit I had cut about 1/8 of an inch deeper than the biggest setting on my biscuit joiner, and that gave me 1/4 inch more of wood to put in there. So Titebond 3, it was so humid that day, I don't think Titebond 3 would have set up. That's my preferred wood glue for almost all things. But the Gorilla Glue, I should have coated the ends, you're right. Some of you hate Gorilla Glue. I've had mixed results with it, especially in outdoor conditions. There are a few guys that said nice things. Ken B, Komar, Joe D, Big JC, Dennis, Ian, B Mummy. Thank you for being nice. And I want to point out Nicholas Fox. Nicholas was, I think he told me I was wrong, but he was so respectful doing it, I didn't care. Jacob, as far as OCD, I think the D stands for disorder. I really don't know. I want to thank Ephraim too for pointing me to the Samari Carpenter. I've watched several of his videos. I hadn't seen the one on the deck, but he's got a great solution for corners on decks, and he's got a great website, and he's a very talented carpenter. And this is carpentry. I have made some other things, some furniture. For example, I made a horse tack chest. I made a king-size bed for Alyssa and her husband, turned the corners on that. My latest thing was a campaign desk for my oldest granddaughter. So I do have some skills, maybe not the best carpentry skills. Anyway, it is what it is. Larry L. and others, I'm sorry if you thought you were going to click onto this and finds out something new. You know, it happens all the time on YouTube. I've done it lots of times. You start watching something and at the end you think, why did I watch that? I wasted 3 minutes of my life. I understand your frustration. But it is YouTube, and you get what you pay for. I didn't even ask you to subscribe. Most of you didn't ask you to hit the bell for new content coming up. I didn't ask you to go over to Patreon and support me. It is what it is. Free. And sometimes free advice is worth exactly that. I did have some favorites. Brim. Brim said, take a look at it. Go back in the house, grab a beer, and relax. Brim, great advice. But my overall favorite was Drive Man. He wins. Drive Man said, stick a pot over it. So I did. Not one miter joint in that whole thing. And I even used a couple of Craig screws for you and held one corner together with a piece of metal plate. All right, time for the bashing to begin. Thanks for watching. Oh yeah, please subscribe. Hit that bell. Don't go to Patreon. I'm not there.